So we want this podcast to open up organically. It's going to be a learned process, obviously. We don't want to necessarily address that we're starting the podcast. Anyway, this is just another intro.
Try not to stage it.
Try not to stage the podcast.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. So we're going to jump right into today's show.
First things first, rest in peace to George Floyd.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
What a crazy time. This past week, since we filmed the last podcast, a lot has happened. George Floyd's life was taken from him. There have been riots everywhere, all over the U.S. I'm unsure if that's spread to different countries, but I know there are certainly a lot of peaceful protests all over the world, and rightfully so. And we just wanted to take a minute to personally and as a business, as Exordia Creative, take a moment to say that this is a real serious issue that impacts not only the Black community but every single person in this world, and what's happening is not okay. I don't know how to put it more eloquently than that. People are losing their lives. Yeah. So Black Lives Matter.
We stand in solidarity with everybody in the Black community.
Yeah. Rest in peace to George Floyd. Rest in peace to everyone who's been wrongfully killed or indicted or anything. Yeah. Because it's ridiculous.
And it's time for change. So, yeah. On that heavy note.
Yeah. With that out of the way, a lot of people were participating in Blackout Tuesday. We did, and we did on behalf of a lot of the clients whose social media we manage as well, which is kind of cool to see all different businesses and public figures kind of putting their agendas aside for one day and, like you said, standing in solidarity with the people who are affected by this. It's really cool to see. It's also interesting to see businesses that choose not to. Or choose to ignore it. And I think it's an interesting conversation. I saw a cool post on Instagram, I think, by Lululemon, and if you guys don't know, Lululemon's gotten in a lot of trouble in the past for saying like some controversial, divisive statements. Like I think the founder's been known to say that fat people shouldn't wear their clothes and stuff like that. And I actually want to read it to you guys. I forgot to tell you this earlier, but I just thought it was really cool because I could kind of resonate with it. So here's what they said. And by the way, this was before Blackout Tuesday, but they said, "We haven't always got it right. Over the years, it made us question if we had a right to speak up. And we are privileged to have a voice and a platform. So, no, we are not indifferent. Far from it. We are passionate about every single human being valued. For this to happen, we need to take action. We're making a $100,000 donation to Minnesota Freedom Fund." And it goes on. And I thought that was cool, first of all, that they addressed it. Yeah. But also that they kind of acknowledged their mess-ups in the past and said, we don't know if we're even in a position to speak out about this. Yeah. And I think that's interesting because I've had that voice in my head before. Like, when I try to take, a moral stand over some issue like this that I truly believe in and that, I truly want to do what I can about, but there's also this like negative voice in the back of my head that's like, who am I to, you're not perfect.
I feel like a lot of people today have, on Tuesday, I feel like they've really felt that.
Right. Like they're saying, should I post?
As a person or as a business? Like,
yeah. Yeah. Or like, yeah, because Lululemon, they have been in a lot of hot water in the past, and once everything settles, they don't want to be caught on the wrong end. Mm-hmm. And I think, like I just putting myself out there, like I question, like, who am I morally to do that? Like, what makes me so perfect? But I don't think it's about that. And I think, anybody has a voice.
Yeah. And I think it's especially important for people like Lululemon, for people like us. Yeah, we only have a small audience of people following us and stuff. But I feel like if you have an audience and you feel a certain way and there's this big shift happening, I feel like you should also contribute to the conversation. As long as you're not doing a disservice to anybody, I feel like if you're contributing in a positive way, then yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's cool of them to acknowledge that, and just put all that aside if you can, and do what you think is going to contribute to the greater good. And if that's speaking out, like in times like these, then we're all for that. So for us, that's kind of where I stand personally. But for us as a brand, like as Exordia Creative speaking on it, we had like no hesitation
No.
about putting something out there.
No. We just went back and forth for approval and put it out.
Yeah, without disclosing any names, like we do manage social media for a lot of companies and organizations and public figures, and some of them have been receptive to what's going on.
Yep. And
some of them have chosen not to do the post, not out of disrespect or anything, and say what you will, maybe keeping quiet is disservice, but some businesses, are very afraid of getting political or getting involved in anything that could be construed or interpreted as political.
I think this transcends politics.
I couldn't agree more. I think people are being murdered.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not a left or right thing. Yeah, that completely transcends politics, but businesses, they have to tread so carefully that some are just kind of like skittish to get aligned with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anything kind of moral or ethical.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to comment too much on that, but I think you said it perfectly. Like it transcends politics for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. So with that said, Black Lives Matter, and rest in peace to George Floyd.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on after that, kind of tough to switch gears a little bit. Yeah, just
nothing can really precede that.
No,
but
no.
You in our own small little bubbled off super privileged world, I know you celebrated a big milestone over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quentin just celebrated his first year anniversary
on Monday
of being married.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much. It was a great day. We spent the day. We actually went out to Rondeau. Rondeau's open for anybody looking to go for a walk or get out of the city or whatever. So that was a good time. We took the dog out there. Then we came back into town, grabbed some chilled cork for dinner.
Okay.
Just enjoyed the day. I got some Birkenstocks.
What's on your feet? Show your feet.
I'm not going to actually show.
Come on, put it up there. Yeah, there you go.
We got some Birkenstocks. I've never owned a pair of Birkenstocks. Everybody that owns a pair of Birkenstocks says that you have to own a pair of Birkenstocks. My feet are still in immense pain because they're not broken in yet.
It's but like I can solid tell, cork, right?
Yeah.
Does it just come flat?
It does come flat, and then your feet eventually. Well, there's nice arch support and stuff, and there's nice toe support.
Yeah.
So I guess the idea is as they wear in, your feet start to implant into them and make like a nice little memory foam type sort of deal.
Yeah, you break it in.
So yeah.
I never owned a pair either. I want to own a pair.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have like a cult following.
Yeah. They've been around since the 1700s.
The company?
Yeah.
That's insane. And that style of sandal has been around for eons past that.
Yeah, I believe they used to call them the Jesus flip-flops.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And
people did everything in those.
Yeah.
Like people conquered nations with those.
Did the Romans wear these?
Probably. People people like went to war in those.
Mm-hmm.
People like gladiators fought in those.
Yep.
People made crazy political decisions in those.
Yep.
Like history was literally made in shoes like that.
It's an honor to wear them.
Wait, what do you do?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Congratulations though. That's awesome.
Thank you, man.
How'd you do it?
How did I do what?
I mean,
how did I make it through a year?
Yeah, like
I tell this to you and all of our friends. And my dad cheesily says it. My parents have been married for 29 years.
Yeah.
And I asked my dad, I said, what's the secret, man? And every single time he says, talk. He says, communicate. And I honestly think that is the biggest thing. A lot of people say that the first year is the hardest. Some people talk about the 7-year itch. But the first year for my wife and I was was awesome. We had a great first year.
What's the 7-year itch?
The 7-year itch, apparently, I don't know. It's actually a thing. Like, people can actually say, oh, I had that. And basically, when you get to the 7-year point, you want something new. Maybe you want to try something new. You want something different out of life, something a little,
right.
You know what I mean? Something outside of what you've been doing for the last 7 years kind of thing.
Yeah.
And apparently, they put this 7-year mark on it.
That's the mark.
Yeah. So we went through the first year. Yeah. Hopefully, we can stick it out for 65 plus.
That's huge.
That's the goal.
That's awesome, man.
So,
but yeah, no, it's true. We learned that lesson over and over again in business. Communication is key.
Yep.
So I think it's one of those like universal truths of life. Just talk to people, because our minds all run in different directions, and when we don't share, then you can really surprise each other. And
just before this podcast, actually, I made a comment to Jared about how far away he is from the mic. Let's see how far he is right now. Well, he's a decent distance.
I'm trying to keep my hands here to kind of like anchor me in.
So anyway,
I go like this.
If you'll notice, sometimes he goes way out of frame.
I'm trying to stay on my leash today.
Yeah,
so
it's important that I communicate that. I made a little passive aggressive comment. Probably shouldn't have said that.
It's all good.
It is what it is. Anyway.
It's all good. Thank you guys, everybody, for listening to me and Quentin and the both of us go on. We had a pretty decent amount of viewership our last podcast.
Yeah, one of the best in a while.
Yeah, which was kind of like the first one after we kind of switched gears a bit and decided to keep it a little bit more natural and keep the topics more broad. Yep. So thank you, everybody, for showing support and everybody who tuned in. I actually got more people messaging me than I usually get, which is cool, because like for me, if you can listen to this part way or even all the way, it's a bit of a stretch without getting bored or without turning it off. Like, that is a huge win. Yeah, to me and to us. For those of you that are watching it on YouTube and you just want to have the audio when you're in your car or whenever you're working out, whatever you do when you listen to podcasts, we do have the audio version on Spotify, Anchor, and there's a bunch of different distributions and stuff. So if you don't want to actually watch the podcast, you don't have to. We should say that. But yeah, appreciate everybody watching, tuning in, listening. And now I want to talk about our haircuts. Okay. Or the lack thereof. Yeah. What are we doing here? What's going on here? So shout out to my hairstylist, Aaron. Aaron, I love you. If you're watching this, what are we doing here? Yeah. What are we gonna do about this? I'm ready to cut the check. So my hairstylist is my wife. For now, typically I bounce all over the place. But right now I'm getting my hair cut by my wife, and we're actually using a pet groomer. So that's pretty sweet. Like a tool? It looks like clippers. Like, it looks like how you would expect it to look. You don't have a clipper? We have a pet groomer thing. Okay. I think her mom gave it to us during quarantine to cut my hair. And there's no, you know how when you get your side shaved, you want a 1, you want a 2, you want a 3, whatever it is? Yeah. There's no direction. It's just kind of like, you just get some off. Pick the it's just coming off. Yeah, it's just coming off. You look on the floor and so that's your measurement. So I'm going to share my haircut now. I did get a new hat. Yeah, I know we just said if you guys want to listen, but like, it's all in the visuals right now. Yeah. We got the What's on Feet segment. So yeah. With the Birkenstock. So yeah, if you want to, what's on your feet? Got the office slippers. House shoes, yeah. Showing off that flexibility. Quite a bit here. All right. So this is my do right now. I don't know what the number is on the side. She tried to take a little bit off the top. It's just incredibly long. It looks good overall. I think she did a good job, but nonetheless, the hat remains on. Yeah, and shout out to your new hat. Shout out to my new hat. Excited for my Exordia hat. Yeah. I feel like merch on the way. I feel like women have an unfair advantage. Yes and no. But go ahead. With I don't know what you thought I was going to say, but with their hairstyles, I feel like they're lower maintenance. It's if you have your natural hair color, I suppose. So yep, because you and I, we've been going on walks, we've been going on social distance walks, and we walk by some individuals, 50 plus. You know, they've got the dyed hair, and the gray is starting to come through. I feel like they're struggling too. Yeah. Yes, they don't have to get it cut as often. I think my wife gets a haircut once a year to trim it up and make it look good. But I think we're all going through this, the hair issue. Yeah, 100%. I guess I wasn't really thinking sensitive to that. But yeah, everybody's got their own struggle. But like, I don't know. I know stylists are going to be like booked for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah, and shout out to all the stylists, all the barbers and stuff who still can't open their doors. And I'm not sure. I've heard June 8th. So you might want to text Aaron and be like, hey.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. It's not one of those things where like people just can't afford your service, or when money is tight, it's not something they think about. There is such a pull right now for that industry. Mm-hmm. Like when their doors open up, they're gonna forget about any days off they ever had for a long time, probably.
Yeah, it's gonna be a grind for sure. All right, so just a little note, guys. We did actually make a little list here.
It's on a yellow sticky.
It's on a yellow sticky. It's pretty nice.
Somebody in Quentin's family works at 3M.
Yes. So we get quite a bit of sticky notes and stuff.
You can keep that one.
Yeah. So on here we have the weekend.
What'd you do? Well, I guess you already shared.
That was Monday.
What you guys did.
That was on Monday.
Okay.
We finished up the garden, so everything is planted. Crops are in.
That's pretty sweet.
Excited about the farm. So we should probably talk about that. I wanted to have a get together originally for our anniversary. I wanted to have like a big party and stuff, but we weren't able to do that. So basically what we did over the weekend was we had a small gathering, 5 people at a time, basically from Friday to Sunday. And basically we had a little barbecue with Sarah's immediate family. We had a little barbecue with my immediate family.
Right.
To celebrate our anniversary, Sarah's birthday.
Yeah.
So that's how we did that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what occupied my weekend.
Okay. And we did get to hang out at our friend Connor's backyard.
Yep, that was nice.
Just a little get together. One of our friends from out of town came by. Shout out to you, Jason.
Yep,
if you're watching
JD,
this.
if you're watching, buddy.
Good to see you, bro.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun.
That's what I did.
Oh man, I watched Uncut Gems.
Okay.
With Adam Sandler.
Okay.
Have you heard about it?
I have not.
It is so good. It's a phenomenal movie.
Okay.
So people told me it was good. Like it's super critically acclaimed. Like I'm not the only one who thinks it's good. So with movies like that, you kind of go into watching them with high expectations, and this one just really delivered. I won't spoil too much. I think you would love it. But it's about a jeweler who basically finds this uncut gem in Ethiopia, or he gets it found and he's trying to auction it and sell it. And it goes into like his relationship with his family and people he owes money to, and just how like hustling and kind of conniving that the Diamond District in New York City is. Mm-hmm. And it's an insane movie. Like there are people talking over each other in every scene. It's very realistic. There's a million things happening at once. You're kind of like juggling all these different situations in your head. Yeah. It's super anxious. Like a lot of people say, like by the end of the movie, you're just completely out of breath. Mm-hmm. But it is so good.
Is it based on true events?
I'm not sure, but they did hire real people who work in the Diamond District, and they hired like real goons for like the mafia dudes, the loan sharks or whatever it is. Yeah, it's so good, and it's really cool because when you think Adam Sandler, you usually think of like cheesy comedy, super shallow kind of stuff. But he just knocked this role out of the park. It was so sick.
What platform's it
on? It's on Netflix.
Netflix?
I'm sure it's on a million things.
Okay.
But I personally watched it on Netflix.
And is it new? Like this year new?
2019.
Okay. Cool.
So I highly recommend it. It's by these brothers called the Sadvi brothers who directed it, and I think they're really cool.
Cool.
So yeah.
Awesome.
I recommend you guys check it out. Yeah. And I didn't really do much. Like I said, I think it was Friday that we hung out with our buddies, watched that on Saturday. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice when we can get together with more people, isn't it?
For sure.
Yeah, it's times like this. Obviously, like, you can't escape what's going on right now, but when you pass, like, a major milestone, like an anniversary, it's like, oh, yeah, this stops for nothing.
But you know what? I feel worse for the people that had weddings scheduled right now.
Yeah,
I feel worse for the people, like all those, like a 90th birthday party or anything like that. I feel bad for those people more so than celebrating an anniversary, because I can only imagine what it would be like to have your wedding right now.
And even then, like, we're standing on a huge mountain of our own privilege. Saying
of course,
that,
yeah. And I actually have seen a couple people on social and stuff. They have their 2-person wedding with their husband and the wife and just the pastor or whoever's the officiant. And that's cool too. I think that's kind of romantic, and you'll never forget that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can have a party anytime you want.
You can.
So
You can.
it's not like it's off the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, missing events only scratches the surface of the negative impact of COVID and what's happened to some people, because it's absolutely devastating.
Yeah, this year's been.
Yeah, there are all these memes going around where it's like in January there's almost a world war, and then in February there's COVID, and each month kind of progressively gets worse. And the joke was, I wonder what June is going to hold. And it's like,
here we are.
This is what June holds. Mass rioting and wrongful killings, and yeah, so this is the world we live in right now.
Yeah. I do wonder if it's going to spill over into Canada. Justin Trudeau the other day made a statement and said that he made quite a long pause before he answered his question.
What was the question? I haven't.
The question was, what are your thoughts on the violence and stuff and the racism going on in the U.S.? And basically he paused and said he's absolutely petrified, like he's terrified of what's going on, and obviously shows remorse. But he also recognizes that Canada too has our own problems as far as race goes and stuff like that. And so something has to change, and I've seen the argument, people saying that why aren't they peacefully protesting? People have been trying the peaceful protesting and all that for a very long time. And so now it's just about being heard. And sorry to jump back to this, but
no, I mean, I get it for sure. And speaking about morality, like, how many peaceful protests do we have to endure and try to do before you take things to the next level? And I'm not pro rioting or pro violence in any way, but what are you to do when peaceful protests aren't taken seriously? What are you to do when you just get like a couple days of publicity and lip service from people who don't give a fuck, and then it goes back to status quo? I think that's our first time I ever swore on the podcast.
That is the first time.
So I apologize to anybody.
We're keeping it real. Sometimes cussing is okay, and if I doubt we have anybody under the age of 18 watching this, but anyway, I watched Kevin Hart made an interesting video about I don't know if you saw it, about the media and how important the media is for everything. They literally control the narrative. And so what he's noticed, and I don't follow the news a lot, I really try to limit the amount of news that I'm watching, because oftentimes it is so negative. And basically what he's saying is that reporters, journalists, they all have this very important role of controlling the narrative. And whether we like it or not, they do. Sorry, do you want to say something?
No, I completely agree. I'm just adjusting the mic a bit.
And so, they control the narrative. And basically what they're saying right now is all they're doing is reporting on what they're seeing, but they're not talking about the actual issue. And I think that it's so important. And he mentioned the Colin Kaepernick issue and how Colin Kaepernick originally, he started to kneel at the games during the anthem because of the brutality, the police brutality and senseless death.
Yeah. And
the media literally changed it over to make it sound like he doesn't believe in the American anthem and he's not patriotic, blah, 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 blah. They totally twisted it. And so now we're at this crossroads where the media could then again do this again, and then it just gets lost again in translation. And I think it's really important that you do your job as a journalist, you dig in and you figure out what the core issue is and report on that. Don't just report on what you're seeing.
It's hard, man. Because journalists have jobs and they have certain expectations by their employers. I'm not saying it's moral or ethical.
100%.
And certainly I'm not perfect, but it's big media is super centralized all over the world, but in the US it's no different, right? Like there are a few conglomerate companies that own all the major broadcast networks.
Yep.
And they have certain agendas.
Yep.
And they have needs for funding.
And they're run by advertisers, basically.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
who pays them and who gives them jurisdiction is lobbyists and politicians who want things to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Also fueled by money. And when that trickles down to journalists, like it's hard to be a rogue journalist and report on what you want, because if you I feel like if you want like job security from a major organization, then you're completely under their finger.
Yeah.
And you report what they tell you to report.
Exactly.
I think, social media, we love it because it's more so decentralized than big media.
More so. We did talk about that this weekend as well.
Yeah, but we see social media platforms showing political bias for better or worse all the time. I know Twitter likes to block certain hashtags. I know TikTok blocked a couple of the hashtags relating to George Floyd related. I've heard of people's messages not going through on Instagram. So I think, the slow of information and in some cases the stopping of information is a very real threat that doesn't just happen in communist countries.
Yeah.
And it's probably a lot closer to us than we give credit for.
Yeah.
But yeah, all we can do is talk about these things and use our voices as best as we can.
100%. 100%. Anyway, I think we should just wrap it up here.
Okay. Let's do that.
And we'll be back next week. And
we'll see you guys then.
Yeah.
Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay as happy as you can.
Yep.
Hit us up if you need anything. And just as a closing statement, this isn't cool. Like, something needs to change.
Yep. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, guys. See you next week.
Yeah.